At this time, we will call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we will start hearing of citizens. We are going to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. Please make sure that we honor the 3 minutes. Secretary will be holding time. I believe we have one more sheet that is out, or has anyone who wanted to speak turned it in already? Okay, so we will get started with Sam Azara.
12 minutes. It doesn't sound like that big of a deal. Not that much time. But I'd ask if you've ever seen a lunch hour for kindergarten through 5th grade. I have, and they don't get enough time. I have volunteered at schools, sports concessions, and lots of activities involving our youth in this community. I have talked to a lot of kids over the years. I always try to ask them what their favorite part of the day was. You know what a lot of them say? Lunch and recess. These kids have adapted to so much over the last year. They've accepted change better than any adult, and we don't acknowledge them like we should. Do they know that the school start time has changed? Probably not. Do they know that they have 12 minutes less to eat and play outside? Probably not. Parents didn't even get a chance to know that, and from what I'm gathered, either has the school board. Do they know that they have 12 more minutes of instructional time? Probably not. But is it harder for them to sit still because they have not gotten their wiggles out at lunch and at recess? Yes. 30 minutes might sound like plenty of time, even when you stagger grades in, which they've always done, by the way. But by the time you line them up, walk them down to the lunchroom, get the hot food kids in line or seated, served, depending on how much time, that has changed with the pandemic life, and open up milk and utensils, and not to mention what it'll look like in the winter with added coats. Get them back in line to go outside, boom, 20 minutes now feels like 5, and they only get 10 minutes to play outside. All this for more instructional time. Doesn't make sense to me. Let them be kids, let them socialize, let them run around the playground. They will get plenty of time of instructional time here at the middle school and high school. Last year they dealt with masks and eating lunch behind a plastic barrier. Let the kids be kids. What if a substitute teacher misses lunch by a few minutes, or if a kid has to go to the bathroom? There's so many what ifs. But what if we give them more time to eat and play? What if that is the instruction time that they really need? I urge you to go volunteer at one of these elementary schools during lunch, and I urge you to rethink this 12 minutes. Another issue I'd like to address is the staffing, or lack thereof. 30. That's how many staff members left after last year district-wide. 30. And approximately 15 at the middle school. Not to mention the rotating doors of aides and custodians. I understand you'll lose staff members yearly due to retirement, district moves, grade moves, building moves, but this year's numbers sound bigger than that to me. Pandemic life, yes, changed teachers. Yes, the education system as a whole is struggling. Yes, there is a shortage of teachers overall, but Dowagiac has been known for graduating alumni returning to teach most, if not all, of their careers here at Dowagiac. If we lose 30, that doesn't bother you? That sounds more than normal to me. That sounds like a problem with leadership. It's sad, and it's scary to see what's happening to the school district I graduated from. It's disappointing to see a school board sit silent that doesn't respond to parents' emails when they have concerns. Some that have students in this district. I hope this starts a discussion that needs to happen. I hope this can start a change that needs to be made. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sam. Next, we have Doug Palmer. We can go to Stephanie Lyons.
Good evening. I am here this evening to express my concerns and frustrations with the changes to our students' school schedule and the way in which it was communicated. I first learned of the changes from another parent after I attended my daughter's open house this past Wednesday evening. It was not until Friday afternoon, the last business day before school starts, that I received an email from the school district about building and transportation times. However, this email did not draw attention to the fact that times had significantly changed. As parents, we plan our daily schedules around our children's school schedule. Whether it be for work or daycare, we plan accordingly. We also may budget our expenses that we will incur for the time our children are at daycare. When things change, this affects the whole process. When officially getting notice on the last Friday before school starts, it doesn't leave much room to make other arrangements. I personally know some parents who have appointments that are scheduled daily throughout the month of October, or even longer, and with these adjustments, they now have to move things around, potentially losing business. I understand that change can be necessary. However, I do not feel it should include making significant changes day before the school year begins. The parents and guardians should not have to rely on word of mouth or even Facebook to receive district information. Changes should be communicated in a timely manner, and if that cannot happen, then maybe the changes shouldn't happen immediately. Communication provides clarity. Without it, we have confusion. If the communication to families about the daily school schedule is this bad, then how is the communication between the administrators and our teachers? Could this be one of the reasons we have lost over 30 teachers from the district since June? Secondly, I am concerned with the changes that have been made to accommodate the later start times for our students. It is my understanding that the lunch and lunch recess time has been cut short for elementary students, going from a combined 42 minutes to a combined 30 minutes. This is one of the only times kids can be social and burn energy in the school setting. Why are we taking that from them? I know that kids can be kids and not always use the allotted time properly, but that is part of the learning and time management process. According to the CDC, they recommend that students get 20 minutes in seat to eat lunch. Given we follow the CDC on mask recommendations, shouldn't we follow this recommendation as well? So the time in line for food, cleanup time, and the time in line to go outside should not be included in that 20 minutes. The National Association for Sports and Physical Education recommends that students get 20 minutes of recess daily. This is because recess can benefit the kids not only in a physical way, but also in a cognitive and social-emotional ways. Due to recent social distancing and isolation our students have endured, this recommendation seems more important now than ever. With both of these recommendations, the students should be getting at least 40 minutes combined lunch and lunch recess. If the changes that have been made are necessary, let's just make sure they are the best benefit to our students. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name's Doug Palmer. I didn't really write anything, but I am here for the mask, and I know we all, on either side, it doesn't matter what side, let's not make it political, it's all about safety. We have one side that worries about kids being sick, and we have one side that thinks that kids without the mask will potentially live better. If that means learning without a mask, cognitively, they'll learn better. They would need to learn facial expressions. There's so many other different things that they learn without the mask that they don't learn not seeing facial expressions. We also have plenty of science to go on both sides. There's recently a Dr. Marty McCary from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. It appears that natural immunity is better against Delta variant. When you get infected with COVID, your body's immune system develops antibodies to the entire surface of the virus. McCary said, not just the slight protein that vaccines give you, but the entire surface. And so you get more diverse antibody portfolio in your system. McCary said that the data from Israel revealed that natural immunity appears to be 6.7 times more effective than being vaccinated when it comes to fighting off COVID-19. So we have one side that believes natural immunity is best for their kids. We have the other side that worries about what could potentially happen to their kids. We have a common ground where we can have a defense mechanism of a mask, but let's leave it up to the parents. Let's not mandate a mask when others don't feel comfortable with it. I think it should be up to every individual parent. It should not be forced on every single kid when there's so many pros and cons on both sides. That's really why I'm here. That's my speech. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doug. Teresa Keller.
Hi, I'm Teresa Keller. I have 4 kids in the district. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and 2 elementary school kids. I have watched and seen all the kids at all the schools, and I can tell you that by majority, most parents do not want their kids in a mask, or their children would have been in a mask today and or yesterday. They weren't in masks. That was optional, and I feel that it should stay optional, and I really hope that that's how it stays. I understand if COVID numbers rise and you have to do it because the state tells you you have to, or our health department tells you have to, I understand that. But if there was to be a vote, I really hope that it remains optional, and I commend you for allowing it to be optional so far. So thank you for that. I would like to show you my youngest child who has autism and learning disabilities. He's a super bright kid. He does not do well in a mask. His main goal last year was to chew a hole through his mask every day so he could breathe the fresh air when he went outside. That was his goal for the day, was to chew a hole through his mask. So he did pretty good academically, but imagine how much better he could have done if his goal was to not chew a hole through his mask. And I believe that they went most year not being able to take off their mask outdoors. Why can't our children take masks? Now they can, because the CDC said they could. They could have that whole time, and we all know that. But I understand you have to follow the law. I understand that. So if there was to be a vote, I just hope that masks stay optional. So thank you for allowing that so far.
Thank you, Teresa. Next we have, I hope I get this right, Abby Bennett.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am the mother of 2 elementary students. It has come to my attention that lunch and recess time has been cut to 30 minutes, 20 minutes for lunch and 10 for recess. From what I've been told, that's 12 minutes shorter than last year. For students that are able to bring a packed lunch, 20 minutes may be fine, but for the students who have to wait in line for hot lunch, 20 minutes is definitely not enough time. I spoke with students other than my own children who have said they've seen children have to throw their food in the garbage because they didn't have enough time to eat it. This is simply unacceptable. 10 minutes is hardly enough time for them to get to a zone and have time to play before recess is over. Not to mention when winter comes around and the kids have to put on all their snow gear before they can go outside. We truly need to consider returning to the way things were before. These changes don't seem to be in the best interest of our children, and they're the reason we're all here tonight, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Beth Nate.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bethany. I have a second grader at Justice Gage. A couple of things I wanted to bring up in my 3 minutes this evening have to do with, 1, the masks, and 2, just the overall communication that's been going on, especially with Justice Gage, as that's the only school I personally know about because that's where Nolan goes. So the first being masks. 1, I appreciate the letter going out earlier this summer referring to how masks will be optional unless otherwise mandated, keyword being mandated by the health department. And personally, I think that that is a great plan or approach to the school year with the masks. I feel that families should be able to make that decision on their own, not the board members. I feel there shouldn't even need to be a vote on masks from the board members. I actually went online today, and on the Michigan Association of School Boards, the school board's job, their job is goal setting, policy around education, not masks, designating and evaluating the superintendent, budget, curriculum, staffing, appraisal. None of that has to do with health. None of that has to do with masks. If you guys have your own personal beliefs on whether or not masks should be worn, please have your family follow those, but do not mandate my family or any other family in this district follow your personal beliefs. There shouldn't even be a vote. It's not up to you guys. Second of all, outside of masks, the school. Overall, again, just speaking about Justice Gage, I feel like there's been a complete lack of communication to the parents. As one of the speakers earlier stated, I got an email that was actually forwarded to me from my husband, letting me know about the school time changes. Justice Gage, I think, starts now at like 9:02 or 9:04 or 9:07. I have no idea. However, finding out on Thursday before school starts on Monday is unacceptable. I also think the school start time is completely unacceptable. That's just my personal opinion. Fortunately, I have flexibility in my job, and my son can go elsewhere before school. However, most places of employment start no later than 9 a.m. So what are all the parents supposed to do? They wouldn't even let kids into the building yesterday until, 9:04, 9:07, whatever the school time was, when I was under the impression they can get out at 8:47, and go into the building. No communication, guys. And I'm not pointing my finger at the board on this. I'm not pointing my finger at the superintendent. I'm not pointing my finger at the principal. But communication has got to be better. This is unacceptable. With the whole lunch and recess thing, I asked Nolan, who's 7, he loves playing some jackpot game on the recess, playground, whatever. He goes, Mom, recess was shortened to 2 minutes. I said, first of all, bro, you're exaggerating. It's not 2 minutes, but he noticed. His first day of school, he noticed. He noticed today. That's the second comment he made when he got in the truck today. Mom, I didn't get to play with any of my friends at recess today. I saw one friend. We talked about our shoes, and we had to go back inside. I'm not making this stuff up to make anyone feel bad or to make any point right or wrong, but the kids do notice this. So whether it has to do or if it's going to be updated throughout the year, mid-year, next year, I think the recess should be reevaluated, and I also think the start time of these schools should be reevaluated because this is unacceptable. And once we do have a different plan, assuming that we will, can we please communicate that in a timely manner to the parents so they have time to plan for everything? Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Kristen, Azara.
I'm Kristen, a parent of 2 elementary students at Justice Gage. I'm here tonight because of my concern of the changes that have happened at the schools that were just recently communicated last Thursday evening at approximately 6 p.m. First, I'd like to address the change in start times by about 20 minutes. Although 20 minutes may not seem like a ton of time, it's significant when trying to figure out transportation arrangements on short notice. Last Thursday's notice gave families about 86.5 hours to change their schedules and adjust their start time, and only allowed them 1 business day to work out an agreement with their employer. It also affected our only 2 major child care facilities and staffing that they have to have for before and after school care. These times have been consistent for many years and were never expected to change so abruptly that it threw many people, families, and businesses for a loop without any explanation as to why. Second, I would like to address the fact that 12 minutes of our elementary students' recess time was taken away from them abruptly and again with no explanation. For as long as I've been involved with the schools, lunch and recess have never seemed long enough to get students through the lines, let them eat, and give them enough unstructured playtime with friends and classmates. After looking into the matter more, it seems we are the only district in the area that has a 10-minute lunch recess. Eau Claire has 20 minutes to eat, 20 minutes to play. St. Joe has a 45-minute lunch and recess combined. Lakeshore, 25 minutes to eat, 20 minutes for recess. Sylvester at Berrien Springs, which is their upper grades, is 25 minutes to eat and 15 minutes of recess. I would like to point out that our school day is pretty average for the area, and I would pose that we didn't need to cut back on recess to increase instructional time. In our conference division, we outrank Allegan, Sturgis, and Edwardsburg in hours per day. There's only 5 towns in our conference that have more time than us. In our Tri-County area, we outrank 4 and have the same 7 hours and 20 minutes of time as Berrien Springs, Lawton, and Decatur. I've already sent these breakdowns to the board so they can look at them more clearly at their leisure. Lastly, I've been anticipating seeing the breakdown of where the ESSER funds, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund from the Coronavirus Aid Relief, have been going. Dowagic was allocated $8,484,234, and no one's heard where the money is going. Have we set it aside for a rainy day? Are we retaining staff? No one seems to know that I've asked. Our students deserve the best a community has to offer, and this, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be it. The students deserve to have fun in a school after a long year of no fun, and the community deserves answers on these changes.
Thank you, Kristen. Diane Barrett Curtis.
With the exception of probably a couple of the board members here, I may be the only one here who does not have a current student in Dowagiac. I graduated from Dowagiac in 1969, so you can tell I've been around here a long time. My daughter graduated from Dowagiac. I retired from the college in 2012, and since then I have volunteered at Justice Gage, which was my elementary school, and I still think of that as my school. I believe that my presence there and my help with some of the students who either have had difficulties reading or who have had difficulties in math, or maybe who have been gifted in some of those things and don't get enough attention from the teachers otherwise, has been a benefit to those students. I'm concerned, however, that there is no vaccination mandate at Justice Gage. There is no mask mandate at Justice Gage, and I have a daughter who is immunocompromised dealing with melanoma. I don't feel that I can safely go to Justice Gage anymore and volunteer my time and be exposed to students whose family situations I don't know about. And I know that I can't go up and ask a little second grader or third grader, have your parents been vaccinated? So I think that last year I wasn't able to volunteer, and this year I will not be able to volunteer again. And I'm really sorry that it's come to that. I do think that even the health department is recommending a 6-foot distancing with people who are unvaccinated and unmasked, and according to the letter that was sent out in August, you're only requiring 3 feet in the school. So I'm sorry that I can't volunteer this year, and I'm sorry for those teachers that I really believe that I have helped in the past, and I hope maybe next year things will be different.
Thank you, Diane. Next, we have Henry Crone.
Hello. I'd like to start with normal working hours begin between 8 and 9 a.m. How are working parents supposed to get their kids to school after 9 a.m.? Not every student has retired grandparents to count on. Even with utilizing the bus for transportation, they don't board until closer to 9 a.m. Winter conditions will make this even harder on working parents who are already late for work. The 10-minute recess after a 20-minute lunch is not enough time to burn off energy. Give the kids the 12 minutes back after lunch to let the kids be social and get a break. Let the kids be kids. And finally, the masks. I'm not in favor for anyone else making a health decision for my child. We don't co-parent with the school board or the school faculty. Let the parents be parents and make those decisions for what is best for their children. That's all I got.
Thank you, Henry. Next, we have Kat Race.
turned in. My name is Kat Race, and I am a parent of 2 Dowagiac school students, and I work at Justice Gage as a Title I para and a lunch aide. First and foremost, I would like to thank our educators, our staff, our parents, and our students for not only making it through the unknown, but succeeding through the year of COVID. I can tell you from my personal experience within the lunchroom over the last 5 years, this shortened time is not enough. Have any of you been inside of our cafeterias, start to finish, to witness what you are asking of these kids and what you are asking of us? It is completely unfair to our students. Dowagiac is a low-income area, which is why we offer free breakfasts and lunch. It is why we have the weekend food bags and the summer lunch program. We do this out of concern for our students, for their nourishment and their well-being, and yet we are taking that away from them. We are rushing them to eat when they have zero control over when their food is in front of them to be able to eat to begin with. The company that serves the lunch does a great job at doing what they can to make sure that these students are getting their lunch as quickly as possible. But in doing so, they have accidentally skipped over students who then come to me and say, "Miss Kat, I didn't get my lunch," and we are dismissing students. Lunchtime has become more of a group snack time with the realistic amount of time that they are given. And what happens to the students who, for whatever reason, have to go to the office before or after lunch? What time does that leave for them to eat? It is completely unacceptable. My next issue lies within the late start time, and again, that frustration comes from a total lack of awareness of what it means to be low income, to be a single parent, or an older sibling who's been asked to help out. This later start time of 9:02 is specifically harder for them, for those trying to work, to be able to afford and still struggle to make ends meet. Parents who rely on the school so that way they can get to work for their 9-to-5 job. This affects them the hardest. Be late for work, risk losing their job, or try to find childcare that they already cannot afford. This is a serious hardship for them. Our teachers, our parents, our students have gone above and beyond over the last year, proving just how dedicated, resilient, and understanding they can be. Being able to adapt and take whatever challenges were thrown their way. It wasn't easy for any of us, and at times, many, many times, it was overwhelming and stressful. Okay.
Thank you, Kat. Next, we have Beth Pompey.
Hi, my name is Beth Pompey. I have 2 children, one in middle school, one in Justice Gage. We do school of choice to Dowagiac. I've made that conscious decision to go out of district to bring them here. This is where I grew up. This is where I wanted my kids to come to school. With that being said, the late start time, especially for elementary, I have to drop my son off at the middle school. We live far enough away that then we're waiting an hour and 40 minutes to be able to drop my daughter off at Justice Gage, because it's not worth me even driving that far back home. I know that's a unique situation to me. However, I know that I'm not the only one that does school of choice. You want to bring more people into the district, and that's going to be a hardship for them. As well as working parents, How do you expect anyone to be able to do a 9 o'clock start time, especially out of district? As for the shortened lunch time, my daughter's 8. I had already heard of the shortened lunch time, so I sent her yesterday with a packed lunch. She made it through a fourth of it. She said that she had several friends that had no sooner sat down with their hot lunch than they were dismissed to recess, and they did not eat at all. That's completely unacceptable. These children have to have that nourishment. They have to have that time to de-stress and socialize and have the nourishment to be able to be educated. So I asked kindly that that shortened time is reconsidered. The other thing I would like to mention is it was brought up before about the mandated vaccine, and I would kindly ask that that be left to parents. I do not feel that a school board should mandate at this point something that is questionably out there. That's no greater than a flu shot at this point. So I just ask that you leave that decision to parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. At this time, we'll go to new business. After hearing all of the citizens and receiving emails and different communication, the board wanted to make sure that we had time on the agenda for board discussion about anything that is under the return to school plan. So it is now open to the board. Whoever would like to go first.
Yeah, first of all, Jonathan, I do know that we do not have a motion currently on the table. But one of the things that I would like to do is make a motion that we strongly reassess the situation related to the start end times along with lunchtime for both short-term and the long-term. Having both an elementary kid and a kid in the middle school, I can relate to some of the issues that so I really think we should go ahead and I want to make a motion to reconsider what we put forward.
I second that motion.
Brent, I'm sorry, can you?
Say the motion again?
Yep, say the motion again. And
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to reassess the situation related to start end times and lunchtime, both for the short term and the long term.
Support.
So do we need to, is that just discussion at this point and then? Yep. Did you want to?
Are we just discussing about the start and end times right now, or correct?
Yeah, this would be discussion about the motion.
Well, I agree. Brent, what did you have in mind? Are we talking of making?
You know, my biggest concern, and we can talk through this a little bit more, I want more instructional time, probably more than anybody, but not at the expense of our kids and the time that they need. I want to make sure that we look at that and we reconsider all the issues that we could be faced with those earlier start time or with those later start times, and be able to look at the effect, especially with what a lot of the people said today. We've really got to take that in consideration. And I know the communication was poor. We're all on the same page that the communication was poor. And definitely that's something that needs to be fixed, and trying to push that out last minute, you know, was not ideal at all, and I think we all know that.
Madam President, could I address that?
Yes.
And just to be very clear, that's all on me. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's not the principals. It's not the transportation. There were some things that we were trying to get done, and I kept hoping for them to get done, and they didn't. And I waited too long, and I apologize for that. I wish, you know, hindsight is always 20/20, but it's on me. and the difficulties that it's caused, this decision, because it was my decision, based on the information options and things we were looking at. It's on me. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and it won't happen again. And to the board and to the community, I apologize.
So Brent, what do you think is a timeline? When do we want to, where are we going to make the decisions? Do we do that tonight, or do we, what do you think? What are you thinking?
I don't know if I'm in a position necessarily to be able to answer that at this point, because I don't know what the ramifications are as far as transportation or what that looks like to be able to make an adjustment that quickly. I would need Jonathan to be able to help advise us, but my push is that we need to reassess it. I don't know about a timeline, though. Jonathan would have to speak to that.
I can have information to the board. I would hope to have it, well, shoot, it's the Labor Day weekend, so that's going to be an interesting one. So there are things we'd have to work out with staff and transportation.
Well, I guess I still don't understand why, I kind of understand why the 12 minutes was taken away, but we're talking about start and ending times. Why was there such a big change in the start and ending times?
Okay, it's interesting that at the elementary level, we actually work backwards from the dismissal time. So the dismissal times of the elementary are based on the middle school dismissal time. And then there's a certain amount of time that the transportation department needs from, think of it when the buses roll from the middle school to the time that they can then arrive at the elementaries. And Pat Ham and Kinchlow are 10 minutes behind Justice Gage, and Sister Lakes time-wise is 1 minute behind those two. So we actually we work at looking at an end time, and then we work backwards. So then by moving the 12 minutes that we're at lunch with the intent of trying to provide staff with a larger block of prep time in the morning, that shortened the day. And the transportation department had asked for a little more wiggle room at the end of the day, so that pushed that end time a little bit further out. So it's about 17 minutes directly connected, some other tweaking as well.
So if we just move the 12 minutes back, then
well, there comes staffing issues and other organizational structures with that would have to be worked out. So theoretically, yes.
That would
but
correct.
that's not something that I can turn around tomorrow.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But my goal would be to be able to make those changes based on what I'm hearing from what I think I'm going to hear from the board. I would hope to be able to make those changes sometime in the middle of next week at the latest.
And I'd like to make sure that we at least give families a week to be able to communicate that to them so they can allow any changes.
Okay, if you want a full week of notification of times, happy to do that. Then that would push us 1 week out further from determination date. So if we were able to wrap this up Friday morning, Friday morning, and then to publicize, it would be a week out from that. At least a week, probably would start on the following Monday.
Okay, then if we don't do a week, let's just make sure that we do a fantastic job on communicating and over-communicating.
Did you have?
Does this come now? We're going to talk about the masks now? Okay.
Well, you should vote on it. You should vote on it.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
Are we ready to move on to something else?
well, we'll do the vote. And again, did you get the full motion? Okay. We'll do the vote on this first, and then we'll go into the next.
I'm sorry.
We'll do the vote on this first, on this motion first, and then we'll do the next. Yep. So Britt made the motion, Terry second. Do we need a roll call? Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Well, you all know who I am. I'm Ruth Azara, and I know that there's a lot of people here against masks, and I just would like to read some statistics that I pulled from the internet of what's going on. It started in the South. They went back to school earlier than we did. Now we're going back to school, and it's not a pretty picture down there in children's hospitals. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'd like to read this, please. So the Department of Health and Human Services, since the U.S. had 2,200 pediatric cases of COVID in June of 2021, this past June. In July, that went from 2,200 to 9,450 pediatric cases. 21 days into August, we were at 20,000 confirmed cases among children. On August 20th, 2 weeks ago, the spike among children, the doctor at this children's hospital said, is very worrisome. Children are filling hospitals' intensive care beds instead of classrooms in record numbers. Children's hospitals are feeling the squeeze. Over 400 children have died of COVID-19 since the pandemic began. Right now, we have almost 2,000 kids in the hospital, many of them in ICU, some on respirators, some under the age of 4. 5 days ago, the U.S. set an all-time high with 303 new admissions to hospitals of children in one day. So I'm going to skip here now to this MISC, the inflammatory syndrome that some children, it is rare, but they do get this. Since we have been in COVID for, what, a year and a half or maybe longer, we have had 4,400 children have gotten this rare MISC, inflammatory syndrome, caused by COVID. 37 have passed from that. In closing, if you think that out-of-control numbers of COVID cases won't come to Michigan, you're wrong. We're already in a red zone. It will come to Cass County and to Dowagiac. Our kids will get it. We are already a red county, and it's here. I feel we should do everything in our power to protect our children. As school board members and community members, it's our job to make masks our priority in classrooms. If you think that COVID can't happen to your child, you are wrong. The head of a pediatric hospital said, "Parents are shell-shocked here." They said, "How could this be happening to me, to us, to my child?" Everyone said that COVID doesn't affect children. Well, it does, especially this variant. Thank you.
So I have some words to say on this. I, more than anyone, know the effects of COVID. Some very important people very close to me have had it and had some long-term lingering effects. But I am a school board member. I am not the Department of Health. As far as I know, none of us are doctors or nurses. Unfortunately, this has become way too politicized. I'm for the option as a parent. I've asked my son to mask. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't want to force anybody else to be masked. And I'm definitely not gonna force somebody to get vaccinated if they don't want to. So, vaccination on anything is a personal choice. And if you want to be vaccinated, great. I think that's the best thing you should do. If you want your child to wear a mask in school, fine, that's your choice. But as a Board of Education, our job is to make sure that the kids are educated and they're safe from violence in school, safe from, outside. Excuse me, I'm speaking here. We're not here to require health screenings. It should be optional unless the health department says otherwise. They're the health professionals. They're in charge of the health. We're not in charge of health. I'm all for it being optional.
But the health department does strongly suggest that we all wear masks.
That's fine, and people strongly suggest you wear a seatbelt, but that's up to the individuals. Unless it is mandated like it is in Allegan County and Kalamazoo County, I am not supporting forcing our kids to wear masks if they don't think they should. Optional. End of story.
Madam President, may I add some perspective?
Yes.
My own, not perspective, but thought here. In the letter that went out earlier in the summer, it was very clearly stated that we will be assessing and looking at our own determination. I am not a doctor, absolutely not. And I personally wish that if the health department would make a clear declaration, yay or nay, that would make, it would make all of our lives in a sense easier from at least it would be a decree versus a recommendation. But if we start to see numbers in our buildings similar to situations last year, if necessary, I would first begin with looking at a short-term masking and trying to control those numbers so that we would not have to go and consider closing a building or going to distance learning. And I think that was clearly shared in the letter, and I would hope that that would be understood. Again, I'm not claiming to be a health expert, but if the numbers start to rise to the point where we did last year, then I would make that recommendation. I would make that determination that it is at that point, and I will understand those parents who would be upset with me tonight who said masking would they prefer to be optional, and I respect that greatly. I truly do. But at some point, I do have to weigh and make some decisions about the best thing I can do about the safety. And if the numbers start to show it, and if I feel it's justified, I will make that decision, and I just hope the board can understand that.
Okay, my turn. The back-to-school letter, which you all received, first came out and was essentially your choice. Some of us looked at the letter because we had no prior input, which is not like Jonathan usually does. Jonathan usually comes to the board and says, this is a problem. We knew it's going to be a no-win decision, but you do the best you can. And it wasn't done this time. I don't know if it was because he was in a hurry, had to get the letter out right away. He made some language changes, which we recommended, but we never voted that this was how it was going to be. And then in this very letter, he said, you know, it's going to be flexible and whatever we decide. The board does have a stake in this because the board is concerned of the safety of our kids and our employees. And when I ran for the board several years ago, 7 years ago, it was the same, except it wasn't COVID. It was the gunmen coming into the schools, and so we needed to make sure that no one could just walk in the building and go anywhere they wanted. So when the bond issue passed, we had some safeguards put in. I still feel that we have a segment of our student body who has not been vaccinated, not because the parents don't want them to, but because the vaccine isn't here yet, and it probably won't be here till at least winter. Those are the people that are at risk, besides the other people who have a choice to be vaccinated but are not. This pandemic is unlike the first one. In the first one, we didn't really know exactly. Now we know that over 90%, and this is throughout the country, including Cass County, over 90% of the new cases, both hospital and so on, are people that are unvaccinated. And you've all heard that, and it's true. And it happens in areas that have low vaccination rates. Cass County is one of the lowest vaccination rates, and not the only county like that, but somewhere between 31 and 39%, depending on where you're looking. This is as of today, August 31st. And it could be that some Cass County people have gone to a different county to get vaccinated. So anyway, my concern is this. I'm going to vote no because I asked for a vote for each board member to say how they're going to vote on the choice the way it is. I'm going to vote no on that, but I would like to see at least, at the very least, masking for children under 12, unless they have a doctor's thing, and staff members who serve those children and other people who deal with those children until their parents have a chance to get them vaccinated. And if they do, we know that will make a difference. And it already is starting to, as people are finally starting to get vaccinated. But the situation in the southern states is coming up here. The CDC and the Michigan Health Department, the Cass Van Buren Health Department, has both highly recommended that Cass County, Van Buren County, and most of the Michigan counties be masks for however long it takes. So, when we take a vote, and I hope we're going to take a vote, and everybody can say what they want to say, I am voting no on the current with the option, maybe it's a compromise. I want to protect the kids that don't have a choice and are not vaccinated. Thank you.
Ron, are you making a motion, or do you want to wait?
No, the other people, isn't there some more people who want to talk?
If they want, yes.
I just want to say one thing. I can only speak for myself, but I personally felt like I did have input. That letter that did go out, we all looked at it, we all talked about it, we all made changes. No, there was no public vote, but I personally, as a board member, one of 7, just want to put that out there that I know what was going out. I had input in it, in the return to learn or return to school, welcome letter that went out. You'll see how I vote about the masks, but.
Okay.
I just wanted to say one thing. I know when I was done, some people brought up about vaccines, and, that's a whole another story to me. Everybody's parent, as parents, you're going to be able to decide if you have your children vaccinated or not, and that's not my business, or that's just your business. But I'm just right now speaking about the mask, and I agree with you, especially on the younger children. Okay.
Brent?
I guess my stance is I will support any parent, student, teacher, or staff member that would like to wear a mask, but at this point I will not recommend a mandate, and I will not support it.
Ron, are you making a motion?
Make a motion to what?
Well, what I heard, and that's why I'm asking, are you making a motion that children 12 and under, and those who serve, wear masks within our school buildings?
Correct. I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
You said 12 and under. You said 12 and under.
So 12 and under, that's going to affect the middle school because you have sixth graders and then seventh and eighth graders in the middle school. I mean, so you have a mix of the middle school. So why not mask the whole school at that point? That doesn't make sense.
We would definitely have to go grade. He would have to go grade by grade.
But his motion was
12
Right.
and under. But sixth graders are in 12, or 12.
Well,
My seventh
I'm
grader's
just
12.
saying,
Yeah,
the
I
people
know, I
under
just have
12
freshmen.
don't have a chance to get vaccinated.
Right, but that is mixing school, so
Right.
are you suggesting grade level or?
Well, it'd be tough to, because there could be people under 12 in the sixth grade, people under 12, even someone in the seventh grade. So I would not do it by grade.
So are you looking to amend your motion so that it is students in the middle school and under and the staff that serve them to wear masks?
Students in the middle school and under?
Because
It would
at the
have-
middle school, we have students that are 12.
Right, I understand it.
And we would have them interacting with students who are 13 and 14, as well as staff in passing in the hallways. So are you looking for anybody in that vicinity of a 12-year-old to be masked, is the question?
That's not part of what I meant.
Okay.
Because those people over that had a choice. Their parents had a choice. And, if they wear masks, so what?
So your focus will be on 12 years and
Right.
under.
Right. People who haven't had a chance.
Ron, I just want to say I respect where you're coming from, but since I haven't actually said it, I do support optional masking as well for
I thought so.
11 and under.
Okay.
Madam President, may I ask Mr. Jones some
Yes.
questions? Mr. Jones, I'm going to ask a few questions so that if this were to pass, I would know how to implement. Sixth grade, students who are in a classroom that are 12 or under at the middle school, that entire class would mask or only that student?
Okay. Let's make this so maybe someone else might support it. Fifth grade and below.
Bruce supported. So the motion is fifth grade and below to mask and any staff supporting
Right,
those
right.
students mask. Bruce supported, so we need a, yep.
So this is supporting that, so no.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
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 Yes. So it didn't pass,
No.
So the motion did not carry.
correct.
Yes, well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to vote, and it's on the record. So,
And just to reiterate what Mr. Wan said, we do have the option, along with the student plan, to reevaluate at any time. So I know everyone here is made that vote based on feedback that we have gotten also, and of course, our own personal experience, but we also can reevaluate at any time, and we'll continue to look at the numbers as we have stated. So, is there any other discussion regarding anything that has to do with return to school? Okay, At this time, if I can get do I need a motion to go into close? A motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
I'm sorry, all public comments are closed. We'll go into closed session at this time. Okay, I'm sorry, ma'am. Who seconded that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, or do we need a roll call?
Roll call.
Go ahead.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll now go into closed session. Thank you.